up, movie lovers? I am back again with another horror tag. I was once again tagged by my buddy Bronco Juggalo to answer some questions pertaining to the horror genre, which, if you didn't already know, is my favorite genre. He reached out to me the other day asking if I enjoy doing these because apparently I looked annoyed during my last one. Bronco, my man, I was not annoyed. I am so sorry if you thought I was. I genuinely love getting to answer these questions about my favorite genre, and I love passing them on and including more of the community. If I looked annoyed, it might have more to do with the fact that was the 7th video I'd recorded that day. I was super tired and I'd been standing recording for 4 hours, so that might be why I didn't look super energetic. That and it's winter, so it's sucking the life out of me, but enough of that. Time for the questions. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert now. I'm going to get detailed, so if you haven't seen the movies I mentioned, just skip till you find me talking about one you have seen. Question 1. What is your favorite opening scene in a horror film? I was torn between Dead Silence and Darkness Falls, both of which are Australian-American horror films. Go Australia! But I have to go with 2003's Darkness Falls, which actually co-stars my brother's old mate since high school, Sullivan Stapleton, who now stars in Blindspot. Everyone starts off in a horror movie, it's practically a rite of passage. Anyway, my whole life I've been terrified of the dark, and I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but when I was younger, I was scared shitless, and this movie embraces and magnifies one's fear of the dark. So the opening scene of this movie has a boy losing his last baby tooth, and he leaves it under his pillow for the tooth fairy. He wakes up hearing movements and feeling like there is something in the shadows. He hides under his blankets because he can hear something, and you see a shadow fly over the covers. The kid pulls the covers down like an idiot, and there is this scary as fuck white porcelain mask directly in front of his face. So naturally he runs screaming, and I was screaming too. No one wants to open their eyes to see that shit staring at them. So the Tooth Fairy is on the warpath and unfortunately kills the boy's mother. She kills anyone who sees her, so boy ends up traumatized and accused of murder and grows up to be deathly afraid of the dark because he knows if he's in the dark, the bitch is gonna kill him. That movie and that scene traumatized me for many years. I had to go to sleep with the TV on for a very long time, which goes to show it was very effective. It set up the movie perfectly, gives you that good first jump scare, and if you're afraid of the dark, it'll fuck you up. So well done, Darkness Falls. Question 2. What are your top 3 horror movie quotes? Holy shit, this was not easy. First has to go to 1987's Hellraiser, specifically the ending where the dude says,
Jesus wept.
That's creepy. I don't even know what it means. I asked a Christian once and even they didn't get it, but just the whole him being ripped to shreds by these hooks and he should be in excruciating pain and yet he looks like he's enjoying it, and then that comes out of his mouth. I still don't get it, but it creeped me out, so solid delivery. Second one goes to 1990's Misery when Annie goes into her long speech and says this.
He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car!
I cannot tell you how many times a week myself, my mother, or even my brother will say this line. If anyone says something even close to he didn't, then the next person will respond by saying, he didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car! We're obsessed with it. Plus, I feel it's her most relatable moment. I think we've all been that person screaming at a movie because the events in it made zero fucking sense. So, Annie, I feel your pain. As for the third, everyone loves Hannibal Lecter's line in Silence of the Lambs about the fava beans and Chianti, but, and I know this isn't technically a horror movie, my favorite Hannibal line is this scene in 2002's Red Dragon.
Tell me, Will, did you enjoy it? Your first murder? Of course you did, and why shouldn't it feel good? It does to God. Why, only last week in Texas he dropped a whole church roof on the heads of 34 of his worshippers just as they were groveling through a hymn. He wouldn't begrudge you one journalist.
I love this movie. I love it even more than Silence of the Lambs. I love how Anthony Hopkins depicts Hannibal Lecter, and how he delivers that line is so perfect. Best religion burn. Question 3. What vision of The Shining do you prefer? So essentially book version or film version. Now, I admit I haven't read the book, but I'm still going to say the book anyway, simply because I hate the movie. My whole life people said how this was one of the scariest movies ever made, and when I was finally old enough, or what I felt was old enough to watch it, I did, and I was bored out of my freaking mind. I didn't like it, it did nothing for me, and I've never been compelled to watch it again. Plus, Stephen King hates it, and I usually love the book more than the film anyway, so I'm still voting for the book regardless. Question 4. What is your favorite creature in a horror film? That's another tough one. In all honesty, there isn't one specific creature I prefer over another, although maybe I am a sucker for ghosts and demons. I do love movies centered around hauntings and possessions and exorcisms and all that stuff. Plus, I find it the most believable for the most part, so I guess I'll go with ghosts and demons. Question 5. What is a horror movie you dislike that everyone else loves? Where do I begin? I think I basically answered that when I said The Shining. I just don't get the love for that movie. Also, 1977 Suspiria. Everyone talked about it. Everyone said it was one of those must-see movies. Finally watched it during my October marathon last year, and I didn't remotely like it. I hated the music. I found it hard on the ears and distracting. The visuals were great, but I thought the plot was lackluster. Didn't feel like it went anywhere or makes sense. Just overall was not happy to have watched it. Another is 2016's Don't Breathe. You can even go find my review of that on my channel. That was one of my worst movies of 2016. Everyone praised it as one of the best of the year. I was so excited to watch it, and then I did, and I fucking hated it. I yelled at the screen till my voice gave out, and if you want to know why I hated it, then you can watch my review where I go into great detail. Question 6. If you're in a horror movie situation, who would you want to pair up with for your survival? Fuck y'all, I'm teaming up with the killer. I ain't hanging out with any of y'all heifers, you gonna get me killed. I will go over to the killer, be like, hey, I'm a big fan of your work, can I hang out with you? I'll hold your machete, I'll bury the bodies, hell, I'll show you how to use Google Maps so you can find them even faster. Then, when the last person standing kills the killer, I'll still be alive. But I'm not stupid, those bitches always come back from the dead. So, as soon as they're in the body bag, I'm hopping on a plane out of the country before they resurrect themselves, because they can survive a lot of shit, but no way they're getting through customs. Question 7. If you were given creative control of your favorite horror film, what would you change about it? First, I have to figure out what my favorite horror movie is because it changes all the time. I go back and forth a lot. And if something is my favorite, safe to say I think it's perfect, so why would I want to mess with perfection? But for the sake of the question, I'm going to say Dead Silence, and I would not include the cop, and I would explain how that chick became the perfect doll. Question 8. What are 2 favorite artwork covers in your collection but are terrible films? I have nothing. My movie collection is super limited. Most of what I had I sold to make a quick buck, and I don't have much left, and of what I have left, none of them are horror. I'd love to have a great DVD collection like you guys, but I just don't have the money to spend on DVDs, and even if I did, I focus more on the synopsis than the artwork. Sure, there might occasionally be a poster I see and go, ooh, that looks interesting, but then I'll read the synopsis and am completely put off. I care more about the movie itself than the package it's wrapped in. Question 9. What's a movie that you try to watch but you can't get through it no matter how hard you try? I've honestly maybe only had this happen once or twice, but it's rare. Typically I will watch all of a movie because if I'm going to review it, I'd like to be able to review all of it and not just part of it. Only movies I turned off and never finished that I can think of were The Covenant, which went on my worst of movies for last year, and I'm not talking about Alien. This movie was cheap and poorly done. It was so fucking bad it wasn't even funny, so I turned it off. The other was a Serbian film. I was so disgusted and appalled by what this film did on a deep emotional and moral level that once I got to a particular point, I turned it off, threw my laptop across the room, and I just sat and cried while dry heaving. Nothing had ever made me feel like that, and I never want to feel that way again. There are some lines I don't believe you should cross, and I don't give a fuck if you're saying it's meant to represent something political. It's fucked up, you knew it was fucked up, and some people are going to enjoy it more than they should because that's how depraved they are, and I'd rather people not make money off giving them something to be pleased about. Question 10. What horror movie do you want to own but you don't? Every horror movie I've ever seen and liked. So that's thousands of movies, some of which will be hard to find, and one day I will have them. Mark my words. That's all the questions. Thank you once again, Bronco, for including me. Keep those tags coming. I am in turn tagging Douglas from 7 Minutes or Less, Larry over at LC Screen Talk, because I haven't tagged him yet, and I probably should because I adore him. I will also tag Brittany and Steven over at the BS Review again because I love their last one. I will also tag Pop Culture Vulture again because she couldn't participate in the last one, but maybe she can in this one. And last but not least, I tagged Jared, and I'm not saying his last name in case I fuck it up, but all their links will be posted in the description, so go check them out if you're not subscribed. And if you would ever like to be tagged in a future tag video, then comment down below and let me know. I will see you on the next one. Bye.